It is 7:30. If we could call the special board meeting of the Amherst Exempted Village Board of Education to order, please, by pledging the flag.
Oh, that was good.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could call the roll, please.
Mr. Engel.
Present.
Mr. Zappa.
Present.
Mrs. Gillis.
Present.
Mrs. Snyder.
Present.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Present. We would take a recommendation to adopt the agenda as it is presented, including the addendums which you had in
So
front.
moved. Second.
Is there any discussion or comments on that? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item 5 would be treasurer's recommendations.
My only recommendation this morning is for the board to adopt the restatement of the 457B and 403B plans. These, as you already know, are the retirement or savings vehicles that public entities can use. This was part of the implementation process with the U.S. Omni, who is serving as third-party administrator on behalf of the district now. We were required to restate the plans so that we knew that they were completely IRS compliant. So are there any questions?
We entertain a motion for treasurer's recommendations 5A and B.
So moved.
Any discussions or comments? Hearing none or seeing none, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa. Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Personnel recommendations, Mr. Sayers?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Engel. I guess for lack of a better term, these are a number of back-to-school personnel items covering a variety of different topics here, and I know you've had an opportunity to review the agenda. Would like to recommend items 6A through 6H.
And do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there discussion or comments on any of those items? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item number 7 this morning would be educational recommendations.
Yes, just a couple of items here. 7A is an item for our students with special needs, and then item B is a contract for our online learning program that we use for students who are not able to attend school for perhaps medical or other reasons, also to assist students with credit recovery and those types of things. So we'd like to recommend approval of items 7A and 7B.
And we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or comments on that motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item 8 would be business recommendations.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Engel. Just a couple of items here. I know Mike has been working with Doug Cockdell on this item, which is actually a cost savings compared to what we have done in the past in this regard. And item B is an agreement that Mr. Grimmett has developed regarding paper towel and toilet paper dispensers. He explored a number of different options, and this was the most cost effective. And with that, I'd like to recommend approval of items 8A and 8B.
And a motion, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 8A and B. Comments or discussion? Seeing none or hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis.
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Yacobosi.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye. Item number 9 would be the negotiated agreement.
Yes, this is the last item on this morning's agenda. Would like to make just a couple of comments if I could. First of all, I would like to commend Lisa Shank, our ATA president, and her team for their work throughout the negotiations process. Just did an outstanding job, very professional, and as you're aware, we ultimately came to a tentative agreement on August the 8th. The other thing I would like to say is that our staff is the most valuable resource that we have. Certainly things like technology and new school buildings are nice, and those things are very, very important. But when you look at the education of students, our staff is our most valuable resource. And we have before you an agreement that allows us to continue to attract and retain a talented staff, yet at the same time, it keeps us on track financially and where we need to be in our commitments that we've made to the community. So I just wanted to share those things. We're very fortunate here in Amherst. We have a lot of positive momentum going as a school district, and this agreement allows us to keep that momentum going, not only for the 1920 school year, but beyond that as well. So with that, it's certainly my pleasure to recommend approval of item 9A.
We have a motion?
So
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or comments on 9?
I'd just like to thank you guys as well as your team, working with with everybody else, and I think everybody's doing this job.
thank you very much. It was a team effort all the way around. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Yakobozzi?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis?
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye. Is there any other business that needs to come before the Board of Education this morning? We'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for adjournment and a second. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gillis?
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.